Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being the show where we talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Good Girls. A great episode, a lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. This was a back-to-back episode situation, so I am watching and reviewing these one at a time. So I have not watched and reviewed episode 11 yet, but these will get released within 15 minutes of each other, whenever I ultimately am able to get this up, whether it's today or whether it's tomorrow. But I will try to get those up like within 15 minutes of each other. So check out the end card at the end of this, and it should be a link to the episode 11 review. But regardless, putting all that aside, I love where we start off, because obviously you can tell where everything's like, oh, happy, honky-dory, especially Dean's like, no, you sleep in, you deserve it. She's like, oh, you're the best. It's like, right, he still hasn't been filled in. Because that's the thing. I think this speaks volumes about Beth. At no point did you tell Dean the truth. You could have explained, like, crap, all right, this is what happened. She didn't. She kept lying to him, and she's done it time and time and time and time again. So it literally took him stumbling across them working together, because he was like, oh, we have to switch cars, and now it's like, and Dean's like, Rio's like, you're not supposed to be here, and then he's like, same thing could be said about you, and she's like, please just leave, and when he leaves, you can tell he's super upset. Understandably so. Beth's continuing to lie to him, so things are kind of super complicated on that front, and even to the point she's like, hey, because it's like, he's like, can you FaceTime me from like our son's game and stuff like that? It's like, yeah, sure. And she's like, Dean, and it's just like, he doesn't want to talk about it, you know, and she just kind of has to accept it. And now it's just like, well, things aren't just bad enough there. Like, obviously, once again, we found out last episode, I let it slip my mind. I was like, right, they got to print Canadian money now. But it's like, well, what are we supposed to do? Like, how are we supposed to launder this? He's like, you just have to, like, print it and drop it. You don't have to do all that. So it's like, okay, so makes it a little easier for them, but still, the problem with this is, in comparison to U.S. money, it's like, it's different colors, so there's a lot more going into it. There's a lot more to the whole forging process, so. But nevertheless, things get even more complicated because Beth gets fired from her job, because it's like, oh, she was a week behind or something. It's like, the lady's like, Dorothy's like, no, you focus on your kids. You know, they grow up so fast. It's like, the person you want to replace me and get a promotion to is an 11th grade. It's like, yeah, but it's just a job. She's like, trust me, Dorothy, it's not just a job, you know? And it's just kind of like, yeah, I'm going to need you to clean out your cubby thing and everything. So then they're watching like that show about blind marriage or whatever. A blind date. You have to decide whether or not you're going to go on a date with the person. I don't know. I'm slightly familiar with the reality TV show because I've seen commercials from it. I'm not a reality TV person, but I love that you have Ruby be like, wait, what? Because Annie's under the impression it's about blind people. It's like, for 4 episodes you thought it was about blind people dating, and then you have Beth leaning in going, it's not. And she's like, what's wrong with you two? It's like, right, we got so many issues because we got to figure out, first and foremost, like a place to, like, you know, because the whole idea at first was like, well, what do we do? Like, if we were to steal the printing press, like, where would we actually take it? We need somewhere big and wide and somewhere where drainage we'd be able to, like, you know, do this. And lo and behold, that one place is, Ruby has an idea. She's like, the strip club. I mean, it's empty now after everything, so it'd be the perfect place. Stan would have keys, but we wouldn't have to convince them. And they stare at Beth, and Beth's like, what? Ruby just had a conversation earlier when the episode was Stan, because Stan's like, oh yeah, let's sell these persons and stuff like that. But for her, it's like, no, I'm not going to stand by and watch my best friend and my husband beef. Like, the fact is, I'm not about to deal with that. And it's like, she's telling Stan to, like, take the higher road. And it's like, did you have that same conversation with her? Well, she can take the higher road. Which, you know, Stan's being petty about it. But at the same time, someone did point out, and I think I probably leaned a little more towards Beth's side in things last time. I thought, in my mind, I thought I was making it a little more 50-50. But maybe I leaned more like 75 Beth, 25 Stan. Maybe that's kind of where I was last episode. I didn't think I was, but maybe I was. So, but, you know, I can understand, like, they're both at fault here, because, like, because that's a complicated thing. This, no one's, like, because Stan's kind of got the moral high ground, or at least he believes it does. No one has the moral high ground, considering everything they've done over the 4th season so far. It's like, there's no moral high ground. It's not just the ladies that have done some stuff. Stan's done some stuff as well. So it's like, let's not mince words here. Let's not pretend like we're all like, nah, there's plenty shades of gray everyone has various levels of morality. I think he just feels like morally he's on a higher ground than her. And I think you could potentially make that argument if you stack up everything Beth's ever done versus everything Stan's ever done. So it's like a conversation. It's like, right. So Beth's trying to convince him. It's like, she's like, so do you want to split anything? He's like, no. And he's saying no to everything that he's not going to help him out. It's just like, you got my wife mixed up in all of this stuff. And I love it. And she's like, fine, I'm sorry. I'm like, okay. He's like, what are you sorry about? And she's like, and she just couldn't help herself. She couldn't just give him the straight up apology. She was like, I'm sorry that you feel like, I'm like, wait, what are you doing, Beth? The simplest thing would have just been like, I apologize. You have led to circumstances that have gotten Ruby shot, even led to a circumstance where Ruby shot somebody in the leg, well, foot, but I guess that's karma coming back. But it's like, not only have you dragged Ruby and technically her entire family into it, you dragged your sister and your family, your husband and your children technically into all of this. But it's like, the fact is that Beth just couldn't admit, like, no, I'm wrong. And that moment, I'm like, all right, like, Stan does have more of the high ground in this case because he's like, I'm just wanting a sincere apology. You getting, like, very, like, douchey with it. I was like, come on, Beth, you don't have to be a dick about it. But she was being a major dick about it because she's like, no, I'm in the right. And even she doubles down like, oh, I'm sorry that your wife loves what she does. I'm sorry that I pay your bills. It's like, yo, you didn't even have to do all that, Beth. But you know what it is? Beth is alpha. And she's like, no. I ain't about to be challenged. No. It's like, for one, it's like she's a big head because she's the criminal mastermind running everything. So for her, it's just like she doesn't like being stepped to and Stan is stepping to her. And it's like, all right, fine. Like, what do you want? He was like, a sincere apology. And she could not give it to him. So it's like, whatever you want, I'll give it to you. And he's like, I want you out of my wife's life. It's like, okay. He's like, wait, you maid of honor, best friend and everything. And you're willing to just do that. And she's like, yes. Dean is facing 20 to 30 years. We need to get the hell out of here. So if it means never saying goodbye to Ruby, okay. I don't know how sincere she was about that. Because even later on, Stan's like, she told me what I wanted to hear. So even he knew it was kind of some bull hockey. But then again, I don't know if because he knows if Ruby finds out the truth, like she's going to be like, what the hell? She'll be super pissed at Stan. So even Beth doesn't bring it up. It's like, right, to get what we want, I had to do this. So she's kind of having to throw away decades of friendship for saving her marriage and her husband's life as well as her children. So because Dean will face like 20 to 30 as she was saying. So. But okay, so that's kind of all set up. It's like, okay, cool. So we just got to get the printing press moved in there. They wait till she leaves, which I love. Like Annie being like, that lady could only work at a paper place like this. And then it's like, Ruby's coming up with different ideas about stuff. And he's like, all right, how about something that's not out of a Lifetime movie? And Ruby's almost like, that is kind of harder. So they get in there, they got the movers in there, and they're like making excuses. And they're like, no, we can't do it. Even I was like, oh, they morally don't want to steal from an old lady. And then Beth's like, all right, you caught us. The fact of the matter is we're stealing this. The fact of the matter is we are mostly good mothers in a very complicated situation. So please do this for us. And they're like, nah, we have got no problem with all that morally. Like, it ain't about morals. It's just literally this won't fit through the door. But if there's something smaller you want us to steal, we good with that. I love that. I love, once again, I love when they make, do stuff like that where it's like, oh, you think it's one thing. Because I thought with his response, it was like a moral thing. It's like, nah, it's just a logistics thing. We can't get that thing through the door. So now they have to figure out, like, okay, so how do we get it through the door? Oh, someone's going to have to break it apart. And it's like, oh, gonna have to go to Dean for help, which Dean doesn't want to do anything that helps him, but it's like, she's like, I need him distracted so that Rio doesn't know what we're doing on the side. It's like, he's like, what, you got another side hustle? What is it? It's like, I'm stashing away money. For what? For a lawyer? No, so we can run. It's like, he's like, no, like, I'd rather have the lawyer. She's like, it would literally take every lawyer on the Bar Association to get you off at this point in time. You are dead to rights. You pled guilty and everything. Like, there's no government, like, helping, no government agency such as the Secret Service backing us to make that possible. It's like, you are screwed if this comes down to it. So he reluctantly helps. So he's kind of pulling things apart. And I noticed it the moment they were at the strip club. And it's not just him. Everyone's kind of having fun as well. But he kind of calls out Beth specifically because he was like, first and foremost, because I was about to say, like, this is his first time seeing her at work. He's never seen it before. And he's like, I've never seen you this happy before. You're actually really good at it. It's like, yeah, it took a while. We had some bumps in the road, but eventually we found our little ebb and flow. But for him, it's like, that's what's so disturbing because it's like, right, once we get away from Rio and stuff like that, how do I know he's not going to fall? It's like, I'm not going to give him our mailing address. It's like, no, he'll be inside of your head. And, you know, also, even then, like, how do I know that, like, when you don't have this, like, you won't do something else? And that's the thing. And it's something I've brought up time and time again. It's not just Rio. And it's even something Dean said. He says, like, I blamed him for all of this. Rio was never the issue. He was just the excuse. You wanted an excuse to do all this. And Beth has admitted it. She's like, she's good at this. She can never quit this because she's made it clear. She doesn't want to go back to being a regular mom. She doesn't want to just be a regular housewife. She loves this criminal stuff because she's good at it. But also, like, I would at least cut the slack a little off of her, just a tiny bit, by admitting Annie and Ruby, yes, there's complications with it, but they found their ebb and flow and they're kind of having fun with it too. But it's more so like, right, because for him, it's like, oh, he thought he knew his wife. He thought, get away from Rio. He out of our lives. I'm like, I'll get my wife back. But it's like, no, this is who you've been the entire time. You were just looking for an excuse to kind of break bad, you know? I mean, once you've broken bad, there's no going back, you know? Like I said, very, very Walter White-esque in this case. Very Walter White, very Wendy Bird of her. Just to be like, nah, like, I enjoy this. It's just she doesn't like Rio over, like, threatening them and overseeing everything. But when the time comes, like, she would never bail out of this. Like, even if they left and moved somewhere else, she would still find, it's in her DNA now, like, being a criminal. Like, circumstances led her to being this, but she enjoys it too much to ever, you know, once you got a little taste of that power, ooh, it's hard to get rid of it, you know? And she's not going to ever let go of that. Like, I don't think there's any, like, peace for Dean or their kids, because this will always be a part of who she is now. It is who she is now. So he had put most of the press back together, but he took away a piece that's like, yeah, no, I'm not going to help you. And so Annie has to order, like, pieces on the line. It's like, right, we'll have to figure it out on our own, like, how to fix it. It's like, yeah, it's 5 missing pieces, not 50. It's like, well, was it this? It kind of looked like that. Was it, or was it this one? It kind of looked like that. Ruby's like, just order both. So complicated situation on the husband front on both on side of things. Which, speaking of Dean's circumstances, I love that he's with, like, his Ponzi scheme, pyramid scheme thing that he's a part of with all this, like, face cream stuff. And I love Breckin Meyer's character grilling that dude and be like, oh, like, the dude made a joke and it's like, he's like, no, I like jokes, but the only joke here are your sales numbers. He's like, I'm sorry. He's like, what happened? He's like, basically his mother-in-law is moving in and it's like, she bought a one-way ticket. It's like, right. But it was basically telling him, it's like, you got to stand up. Like, we're in this together, so we got your back. And just Dean's looking around at the craziness. It's like, Dean, you're doing great in sales and stuff like that. What's going on with you? He's like, nothing. It's like, one dude's like, it can't be nothing if you got to, like, ankle monitor. And it's just like, Breckenmeyer touches his chest like, nah, you gotta put more into it. You want to keep being good at this, right? It's like, he says yes, but it's like, he technically doesn't want to. You kind of force him because it's like, right, either he keeps up the sales numbers or he pays back what he owes you, which was like, what, $100,000 or something like that for all of this that got bought on advancement. So you kind of forced his hand into this situation. So, but when it's all said and done, though, later on, after the, like, press situation, after stealing it, he breaks down and just basically opens up to everybody. It's like, yeah, I just stole, like, a printing press from a card store. And it's like, wait, what? It's like, is that why you got an ankle monitor? My wife launders money for a gangster. Then what's with the printing press? She also prints the money. And it's like, whoa. And I'm like, you're opening your mouth to a lot of people, but I guess at that point in time, it's just like, it's all so much that he doesn't care. And for Dean, Brecken's like, why are you kind of bending so far over backwards? It's like, because I owe her. And he's like, why? It's like, oh, one woman. It's like, it wasn't just one. Is it continuing? It's like, no. But for him, it's a thing of, yeah, he kind of owes her big time because he messed up big time. But Breckenmeyer's character is kind of like, yeah, but the fact of the matter is, did you murder anyone? It's like, no. It's like, good. Like, that's my point. Like, you shouldn't have to basically pay her. Like, yeah, you made some mistakes, but that's what they were, mistakes. Like, you shouldn't have to pay the rest of your life. And he's kind of like, oh, that's not how my wife feels. So they made this whole thing of just kind of letting it go. Like, oh, here's a pyramid, and here's all these dangling keys, and it goes through Breckenmeyer on the other side of things. And next time we see him, he's the hot tub, and he's relaxing. And she's like, because he said, like, yeah, because she's like, I can't promise you I won't think about stealing something or, like, robbing a convenience store or something. But at the very least, us getting out of here gives us a shot, because if we stay, nothing's going to change. And then Dean's like, I've already fixed it. She's like, why would you do that? He's like, because I let it go. And he's got the key and he's swinging it. And it's like, the sad thing is, I think now things are kind of real. I don't see it happening because Dean probably doesn't want that just because the kids and everything. So he wants to keep the house unified, but I think he's just letting it go. Like, oh, you need something? Yep, go right ahead, Beth. I think it's sadly going to be that thing of, I don't care anymore. Do whatever you want to. It's not my problem anymore. It's all on you. You resolve whatever issues it is. I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to be, but just do whatever you want to do. So I'm curious to see what that means in the run, but I think Dean's just done with everything. I think that's just going to be complicated because despite everything, Beth does love Dean and they worked so hard to get the relationship back. But I think this is kind of putting a little bit of a nail in the coffin in that. So we'll see what happens to Dean going forward. It's definitely going to be interesting. On any side of things is where things get interesting too, because I love the whole thing of like, right, we got some rules. Get rid of your bucket. He's like, oh. It's like, you can use the bathroom. Also, don't wash your clothes in the sink. He's like, right, wash them in the bathroom. It's like, no, the washing machine is down below. It's free. You know, they have to make ground rules. I even love at one point, Ben's like, is his name Chris or Kevin? She's like, it is way too late to be asking questions like that. And she comes back. And he's invited people over. It's like, I thought no party. He's like, no, it's not a party. Which I love. When she went in there, it's like, where's your friend? And they're like, and the lady's like, Kevin. And she's like, Kevin, thank you. And the lady just gives her the thumbs up. It's like, oh, you were legitimate. You legitimately didn't remember his name. Even I didn't. I was like, I'm gonna have to look it up later because I actually don't remember his name. I felt so bad because I was like, oh. I mean, I guess that's actually really, that shows you it's such a good job because Eddie doesn't remember it and she doesn't say it enough for you to remember it. So I think that's pretty dope. But I was almost thinking Kevin was a bit of a dick because, well, Kevin's like, nah, I mean, I could stay with so-and-so, but he enjoys his privacy. She's like, I need you to get up out of here. Like, find somewhere else to stay. But he's like, well, if that's the case, I'll contact the school. She's like, whoa, what do you mean contact the school? Yeah, like, if I don't live here, I don't want to lie about, like, I don't want to lie about where I live. I'm like, the reason why I thought Kevin was a dick, I was like, are you blackmailing her? Are you threatening me like, let me stay or I'm going to reveal? It's like, no, he just legitimately, that dude is like, I don't want to be dishonest, which I get that. Like, you don't want to lie on like something that's like official like that. So it's like, yeah. And so obviously she comes in and he's fooling around with Ben's lacrosse stick and it's like, all right, I need you out of here. Look, I will give you this mobile home. It's got a toilet, shower, just everything. Like, I just need you out. It's like, how can you even afford that? She's like, I can't keep doing this, you know? And he was just kind of hurt because it's like, oh, you want to get rid of me that badly? She's like, I didn't want you staying here in the first place. And it's kind of heartbreaking to hear that. It's like, oh, I guess for him, it's like, right, I thought we kind of had something. I thought like we were good. Yeah, we had our ups and downs because he didn't want it just to be like a hit it and quit it and just use me for whatever. It's like he wanted it to be more. And it seemed like maybe there was a direction of that happening. But I think for Annie, it's also like, right, I got to work on me. I got to work on me first and foremost, and I'm not here to be in a relationship, especially with, you, especially because she kind of could put the kibosh on like anything between her and Josh. So it's like, I think it kind of, that's where all that kind of currently stands. But he was like, yeah, but also he's like, when I first, let's be honest, like I thought Ben was kind of a dick because he went to that preppy school, but just honestly, he's a pretty cool kid. Make sure he keeps up with lacrosse and doesn't become a theater kid, But it's like, yeah, well, I packed my stuff. Can I watch something on TV? And it's like, oh. And obviously, Ben ends up coming back later on. And he's like, oh, like, where's he going to stay? Because actually, I used a move he told me. It's like, wait, what? Yeah, wait, he taught you a lacrosse move? It's like, yeah, he actually played for, like, Maryland, like, officially. Like, so he's like, oh. I mean, because that's the thing. Annie knows nothing about him. So it's like, oh, like, so she was so surprised. It's like, I mean, he's kind of living on the street, but that's probably because he probably had hard times at no point in time. Like, Annie's struggling herself, but she is able to kind of keep afloat enough because of the criminal activity she's a part of. But no point did she kind of ask, like, oh, who was he before, like, all of this? Like, before his life fell apart, how he's living in his car and everything. But, yeah, but like the way he kind of hit it off with Ben, and Ben's like, are you going to be at the game? He's like, of course I am. But the fact of the matter is, I might not be able to if I can't get anyone to watch my car. But I'm going to try and make it. They have their own little handshake. He's like, oh, look, yeah. It's like they're hitting it off, and that made Andy go, all right. And it's like, and Beth's like, wait, you caved? She's like, I couldn't help it. It's like, what about the bucket? So it seems like they kept the bucket. It's like, Ruben's like, oh, God. So interesting time for everybody all around. But then we have Rio showing up and he's like, all right, cool. All the money looks good. Okay. It's like, wait, so when do we drop it off? I don't know. What? Yeah. Well, no. It's like whenever you print it, it's like, what? It's like, yeah, none of my guys can, like you said, no one can do anything about Canadian money in America. So wait, yeah, you told us to drop it off. It's like, yeah, to Canada. And it's like, Ruby's like, here we go again. It's like, oh boy, we haven't taken a road trip to Canada since, wasn't that season 1 that it happened? I don't think it was season 2. I'm fairly sure it was season 1. It's like, man, we haven't done that in a long time. Remember the last time they were in Canada and Ruby shot a dude in the foot? Good times. I believe that was the Canada, the time they went to Canada, if I'm not mistaken. But now it's like, right, they've got to take that trip. And I love, like, Annie says, like, basically, it's like, oh, what was it she said? You're in the game long enough, and Beth's like, stop it. It's like, you're bound to end up with something in your ass or something like that. So, crazy episode all around. I am very interested to see where the next episode takes us with this. Obviously, going to immediately jump on that after I end this recording. But, yeah. Really, that's all I want to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.